tonight.
Buy American products and support American jobs.
He's copying what I've done, but the difference is he can't do it.
The presumptive Democratic nominee and the president. A look at the agenda from both campaigns in the run-up to the November election. Plus, the latest on the rising confirmed cases and reported deaths in the coronavirus crisis. And
ooh, cheese balls, love those.
How one group of YouTube celebrities is using the pandemic and their platform for a greater purpose. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. The 2020 race for the White House begins to heat up. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup. Well, now with the election less than 4 months away, both presidential candidates are laying out their agendas and taking jabs at each other. Today, former Vice President Joe Biden ramped up attacks on President Trump's response to the coronavirus as the president traveled to Florida, a state seeing a spike in cases. White House correspondent Ben Kennedy joins us now with tonight's top story. Ben, it looks like things are getting a bit personal.
Yeah, John, you're right. While President Trump questions Biden's mental state, Biden claims that Trump is hiding his tax returns. You can expect more of this back and forth as the two prepare for 3 debates in the next few months.
I'll see you in Miami.
President Trump headed to Florida to preview a counter-narcotics operation and attend a fundraiser. But before stepping on Air Force One, he pushed back on Biden's plan to revive the economy.
He plagiarized from me, but he can never pull it off. He likes plagiarizing.
Donald Trump loves to talk and talk and talk. But after 3.5 years of big promises, what do the American people have to show for all the talk?
That back and forth setting the stage for a showdown over the country's financial future. On Thursday, Biden outlined his economic recovery strategy, which includes investing hundreds of billions in new technology while powering demand for American-made products. He also plans to close loopholes to stop federal contractors from getting around Buy American clauses. Biden predicts his proposal would create 5 million new jobs.
It's a plan that is very radical left, but he said the right things because he's copying what I've done. But the difference is he can't do it.
Reportedly, the White House is preparing to launch its own Buy American plan to combat the economic impact of COVID-19. It's clear both pitches aim to protect American workers. But Biden says his opponent's ideas have only made matters worse.
Time and again, working families are paying the price for this administration's incompetence.
The former VP's plan would also reverse Trump's tax cuts.
He's raising taxes way too much. He's raising everybody's taxes. He's also putting tremendous amounts of regulations back on. And those two things are two primary reasons that I created the greatest economy we've ever had.
Trump has touted his efforts to stop travel from China and lock down the country, which saved lives during the health crisis. If reelected, he would also renew his push for more conservative justices on the high court.
We need more conservative justices on the court. And that's something he's very strong about. It prompted him to say he'll release a list of more conservative justices he wants on the court.
Now, the Republican National Convention will be held in the Sunshine State next month. It is there we could possibly learn more about these potential future nominees for the high court by President Trump. In the meantime, we wait for both Biden and Trump to lock down a date for their very first debate in this election. John?
All right, CBN White House correspondent Ben Kennedy. Thanks, Ben. Well, with me now is Julia Manchester, the one and only political reporter at The Hill. Julia, always great to see you. You know, beyond the attacks from the Trump campaign, what's been the reaction to Joe Biden's economic plan?
I think the reaction has generally been that it's a moderate plan that's really meant to offset President Trump's economic advances over the past 4 years. Remember, Joe Biden, campaigned for Hillary Clinton in 2016, very much trying to go after this blue-collar, working-class segment of America that Donald Trump was very much able to win over. So I think Biden, in very strategically announcing the economic plan in Scranton, was really trying to appeal to that segment of the American population. A lot more government spending in Biden's plan, unlike President Trump's plan, but that Buy American versus Make America First is definitely, I think, ticking off the Trump campaign in the White House right now, President Trump in particular, because that is really what he's been campaigning on over the past 4 years or so. However, Biden is doing definitely his own twist on it.
Julia, you know, the one tier where the president outperforms Biden is the economy. Polling shows his rival Biden out on virtually every other issue. How seriously should Trump take the Biden campaign's newly released plan to reboot the economy?
I think he should take it very seriously, especially amid the global pandemic. Remember, in a number of states that have very strong, big economies, such as where I am in Florida, Texas, Arizona, California, very large economies within the U.S., we are seeing a growing number of cases that are just spiking each day by day. So, you know, when you see more growing cases and yet this push to reopen, you know, I think we could potentially end up in a scenario where there are, you know, so many people have gotten sick, or, you know, this has negatively impacted the state so much that the economy has been impacted in a negative way. So this is definitely something the Trump campaign should keep an eye on.
You know, as you just mentioned, you're there in Florida, in the Sunshine State, which is now seeing a spike in cases and a record high coronavirus deaths. Give us a sense of how bad it is there, and do you think the state will actually be able to get a handle on things in time for next month's GOP convention?
Well, John, statistics have shown that roughly 1 in every 100 people in Florida do have coronavirus. We are seeing spikes across the state. You know, before, in the beginning of the year, it was mostly just South Florida, the Miami-Dade County area. However, this is extended to Central Florida, the Orlando region, as well as North Florida, which includes Jacksonville, which is where the Republican National Convention will be. There is actually a lot of confusion, I think, among Republicans right now about how to move forward on that convention. You know, we talked to a number of Republican donors and Republican strategists earlier this week, and they essentially told me that they were unsure about whether they wanted to donate to a convention that, you know, is taking place in a state where it is a hot spot for coronavirus, and they were concerned about the safety of attendees. And also, you have to remember, a lot of the people that often hold these high-ranking positions at conventions tend to be older people, so they are at higher risk for the coronavirus. But we're hearing reports that, you know, they're considering a venue change in Jacksonville. So instead of having it in an outdoor stadium, they would hold it in an indoor stadium. Excuse me. They would hold it outdoor. So there's definitely some, I think, talk about a need for more flexibility among Republicans right now. But there's also a lot of confusion because we don't really know where we will be 1 month from now.
Julia, we only have half a minute left. The Veep stakes is counting down. About this time next month, we should know who's going to complete Biden's ticket. Anything you're hearing there as far as intel?
Well, a lot of progressives are obviously pushing for an Elizabeth Warren ticket. However, we are hearing among this nationwide discussion on race in this country that there is a push for, obviously, an African-American woman to be on the ticket. I would say I've been hearing that Kamala Harris has very much been leading the Veep stakes. However, you have other African-American women, such as Keisha Lance Bottoms and Val Demings, who's the congresswoman from here in Orlando. So Kamala Harris definitely leading. However, we are hearing a lot of names being thrown into the mix as well.
Julia, we always appreciate your insights. Julia Manchester with The Hill, thank you so much for being with us, and have a great weekend.
Yeah.
Well, tonight, an about-face, some are calling a victory for religious freedom. Last month, the Navy banned sailors from attending indoor religious services, even if local guidelines allowed it. Now, that's changing. CBN National Security Correspondent Eric Phillips joins us now for that story. Eric, I imagine this Sunday might look a little different for some sailors who are eager to get back to regular indoor worship services.
It will look very different because sailors of all faiths can return to their indoor worship services. And when this order was first handed down by the Navy late last month, there was a sense of confusion and, quite frankly, criticism because it stopped sailors from going to these worship services, but they could apparently attend a house party.
On June 23rd, the Navy put out this guidance for sailors. Page 3 reads, service members are prohibited from visiting, patronizing, or engaging in the following off-installation specific activities, to include indoor religious services.
And actually, the order says that failure to abide by the order could even be punished by court-martial. They chose the wrong First Amendment right to shut down.
First Liberty attorney Mike Berry called on the Navy to change its policy on behalf of a number of sailors.
They want the ability to go to their home church.
While keeping them from worshiping was bad enough to possibly lead to a lawsuit, the same document added insult to injury. On the very next page, it opened doors to other events. It says, in-residence social gatherings that include more than 10 guests. Such gatherings were strongly discouraged if anyone residing in the home was COVID-19 positive.
To say that you can't go to church, you can't go to your synagogue, you can't go to your temple, oh, but you can throw a house party. The one thing that there is no wiggle room is on attending religious services. There is no wiggle room. There's no, well, if somebody's tested positive, you can't go to church.
On Monday, CBN News pressed the Navy for clarification on this order. Tuesday, officials told us the policy against indoor religious services stood because of the potential for large gatherings. But they did update their policy on in-home gatherings, expressly limiting them to 10 guests and prohibiting them if anyone in the home tests positive for COVID-19. Then 2 days later, the Navy reached out to CBN News with this updated policy regarding religious services. Per updated higher headquarters guidance, the message said, the order has been updated to allow attendance at religious services where safety measures are in place. Thursday, First Liberty issued this statement in response. This is a major victory for the Constitution and for religious freedom within our military. This memo means tens of thousands of brave service members will be able to safely and freely exercise their religious beliefs.
You know, they've been gone from their families and from their faith communities for a long time, sometimes months on end, and that's obviously one of the things that they look forward to upon their return.
I did question the Navy as to why there was this change of heart. Officials there would only tell me that this guidance came down from the Pentagon and that they are compelled to fall in line, John.
Really strong reporting. Thank you, Eric. A push on Capitol Hill for equality that has some Christians concerned. The details when we come back.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
Prophecy thousands of years old.
We were called to be a light to the world.
Being fulfilled today. Discover how. Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life. Just call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is. This is what I'm doing.
See how the people of Israel are fulfilling prophecy.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
By sharing their knowledge.
In Africa, in Asia, in South America, in East Europe.
And their love.
This is how we work. This is us.
Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
Welcome back. In a landmark decision this Supreme Court term, the justices ruled that a federal civil rights workplace law extends to the LGBTQ community. Over on Capitol Hill, Democrats are pushing to expand those rights under what's known as the Equality Act. But as Jennifer Wishon reports, some people of faith worry the legislation is anything but equal.
It's called the Equality Act. Opponents say it's anything but, arguing it weaponizes the nation's civil rights laws against Americans who don't conform to the LGBT agenda.
It treats the people who believe that marriage is between a man and a woman, or that we're created male and female. It treats our beliefs as the equivalent of racist bigotry.
Emily Gao, director of the DeVos Center for Religion and Civil Society at the Heritage Foundation, says the bill forces Americans to live under a new sexual orthodoxy, one that would be imposed on the country by Uncle Sam. Female athletes would be required to compete with men identifying as women. Adoption agencies that only place children in homes with a mom and a dad would have to change the way they operate or close. Students attending Bible-believing schools wouldn't be eligible for federal loans. And that's not all.
The bill is passed.
The Democratic-controlled House passed the Equality Act last spring, and in June, Senate Democrats called it up for unanimous consent. Only 3 Republicans spoke out against it.
No person should be discriminated against in America. No one.
But Langford says the Equality Act does just that by elevating the rights of LGBT Americans while dismissing those of Christians and other people of faith. And he points out the bill adds the words perception and belief to the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Untested language, Langford predicts, would lead to a rash of lawsuits across the country.
If I go to interview in a job and I'm not hired, I can sue that employer because I perceive they were thinking I was gay and so they didn't hire me. I don't have to prove anything. It's based simply on my perception or belief.
Opponents also say the bill completely guts religious liberty by saying the Religious Freedom Restoration Act that passed Congress overwhelmingly in 1993 doesn't apply as a defense, leaving people of faith without any legal recourse.
No piece of federal legislation that has ever been passed has ever said that.
So what's next? Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden says he'll make enactment of the Equality Act during his first 100 days a top legislative priority. But while Republicans maintain control of the Senate, and as long as there's a filibuster, for now, there doesn't appear to be 60 votes for the bill in its current form. Still, some religious freedom advocates say Republicans can't just keep saying no.
How much religious freedom we end up getting in this space, whether it's in the courts or in the legislatures, is really going to be dependent on how much common ground we can find with people who also very vigorously support LGBT rights.
Just look at Virginia, he says. When Democrats took over the state house this year, they quickly expanded LGBT protections.
If the only answer social conservatives or conservative Christians have is no, then as soon as the Democratic Party takes over a legislature, their answer becomes yes, and their answer becomes yes with no religious freedoms.
He points to alternatives to the Equality Act, like the Fairness for All Act, based on a Utah law which restores some protections for Christians, but a number of lawmakers argue not enough. And while racial justice and police reform measures are front and center now, the Equality Act is a top priority for Democrats who will quickly pass it if or when they're given a clear path. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News.
From trick shots to sharing the gospel, how some of YouTube's most viral stars are using their platform to promote their faith. That story when we come back.
Too often we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5, Wednesday night at 9:30.
Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears.
Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com to get your copy today.
Welcome back. Another day, another record-setting number of confirmed coronavirus cases, with more than 63,000 testing positive in a 24-hour span. In the last 10 days, the U.S. has seen 6 record-breaking days, although the country has experienced an overall drop in COVID-related deaths. This week, 5 states, Texas, Arizona, Mississippi, Florida, and Tennessee, all recorded their highest daily virus deaths. Well, they've racked up billions of views and tens of millions of followers. Now the 5 YouTubers known as Dude Perfect take on the global pandemic and reveal their ultimate mission to glorify Jesus Christ. CBN's Gabe brings us their story.
Whoa. Oh, no. All right, here we go. For me, making that shot was a minor miracle. But for the YouTubers you're about to meet, they've built a multi-million-dollar empire out of making that perfect shot. From making shots out of the Goodyear blimp,
Well, if this isn't on your bucket list, it should be.
To flying with the Blue Angels. And making unique food choices.
I'm Corey and I eat dog food like cereal. No!
The 5 friends known as Dude Perfect are the second highest paid YouTube stars on the planet, earning some $20 million last year.
I thought it was a one and done. Let's just make the trick shot.
Yes! Former Texas A&M roommates posted their first trick shot in 2009.
Upload it, see what people think, laugh about it, and move on. And then it just caught fire.
And the rest is history, racking up more than 51 million subscribers and nearly 11 billion views. Ooh. We found out the hard way. It might not even fit through the hoop. That it's not so easy. Okay. You're gonna pull a muscle. And even the dudes aren't always perfect.
Oh. Ooh, cheese balls. Love those.
It's not just trick shots. They've also perfected game shows, helicopter battles, and they've taken on stereotypes.
All right, guys, good call. See you next week. Hey, hon, can I get like 5 minutes? Huh? Hey, kids, we're a little much right now.
Like those first months of COVID-19 lockdown.
Rick, we know you're not in space. Guys.
The driving force behind these dudes might come as a surprise.
If we lost everything tomorrow, it doesn't matter. We know that the most important thing we have is Jesus.
And they're in the business of giving back.
It all comes down to this. This moment will echo in eternity.
Granting some 24 wishes for Make-A-Wish Foundation kids in less than 4 years.
Once you see these kids and what they're going through, knowing that you have the ability to bring them just some small amount of hope is such an easy lift for us. It's such a no-brainer.
Making pit stops on their first live tour across the country to visit kids with cancer.
Fire, what it do, baby? It's party time,
and taking a detour to bring the tour bus to Meyer.
Found it, noggin, see ya!
A 6-year-old fan diagnosed with leukemia.
Lord, we just pray for Meyer, and we're really grateful for the chance to hang out with him and his family, and we thank you for his parents and for Macy. And we're just really grateful to be friends with him now, and we pray that we would get to see him the next time we're in town. We love you so much, and we thank you, Jesus, for Meyer. You know me pray. Amen.
These YouTube dudes don't exactly wear their Christian faith on their sleeve, but if you look closely, you'll see it's embedded into almost everything they do. Gabe, CBN News.
Great story that'll put a smile on your face. Thanks, Gabe. Coming up, say hi to Mickey while wearing a mask. How Disney plans to safely welcome park goers.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
From Washington, D.C., uncompromising stories, interviews, and analysis from veteran journalists David Brody.
Escalating fight.
Jenna Browder.
Chose his words carefully.
Ben Kennedy.
Plan to join him.
And Amber Strong.
For impeachment grows a little bit louder.
Bringing you the political news that matters.
We get out and tell the story of the progress that we're making in this country.
Watch Faith Nation, weeknights at 6 on the CBN News Channel.
We will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
As the nations rage, you can stand with Israel.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
Call 1-800-700-7000 and get to life.
This is our nature as a country.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is, this is what I'm doing.
Support Israel in their time of need. Get to Life, now available on DVD. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
And I wish that other people throughout the world could see this side of Israel.
Finally tonight, the happiest place on earth will once again welcome visitors. After 4 months, Walt Disney World is set to reopen parks in Florida tomorrow, but with a few new additions. Social distancing signs, hand sanitizing stations, and plexiglass dividers on rides. Those are just some of the measures in place to keep both guests and employees safe. Everyone at the parks will also be required to get a temperature check and wear a mask. Unlike in the past, guests won't be able to run up and give Mickey a hug. But Disney says they're working to find ways to make sure people get some special interaction with everyone's much beloved characters. Well, thank you so much for watching Faith Nation. We hope you have a great weekend.